Aliens thought human engineers were mediocre, then they saw something extraordinary. Prologue: The Dimming of Stars. The galactic community, a coalition of over 2,000 advanced species, had existed for millennia before humanity stumbled into the cosmos. Known as the Concord of Minds, it prized intellectual brilliance and engineering prowess above all else. The Archivans, a race of hyper-intelligent beings with translucent skin and fractal-like neural structures, were considered the zenith of engineering. Their starships danced through black holes, and their planetary megastructures could rewrite the laws of gravity. When the humans arrived, the initial reaction from the Concord was underwhelming. Their ships were quaint, their designs functional but uninspired. The humans lacked the seamless elegance of Archivan crystal grids or the pulsating organic structures of the Ivron. The Concord tagged humanity as level 4 mediocrity, a polite term for beginners. Yet, curiosity lingered. What could these upstart bipeds achieve under observation? Arrival at Nione 7. The shimmering white halls of the Concord's Grand Station, Nione 7, hummed with activity. Representatives from every major species had gathered for the Transgalactic Engineering Exposition, a once-in-a-century event where species unveiled their greatest creations. The human delegation, led by Chief Engineer Kara Massoud, was a modest group compared to the pomp and grandeur surrounding them. Clad in simple utilitarian jumpsuits, they carried unassuming metal crates containing their entry. Other species dismissed them almost immediately. "They've brought, what, hand tools?" sneered a Zindari observer, her chitinous mandibles clicking with amusement. Her own species was presenting a nanite swarm capable of assembling entire cities in minutes. Kara ignored the snide remarks. She was a petite woman with dark, focused eyes that hinted at a quiet confidence. Beside her, a towering figure loomed, Marcus Mac Hendricks, a former combat engineer with the build of a bear and a temperament as steady as a star's core. The two had an unspoken understanding, let the others underestimate them. Their cargo, labeled simply as Prototype Omega 7, had already drawn skepticism. Humans, with their clunky machines and outdated principles, were surely out of their depth. The presentation hall. In the grand circular chamber, species displayed their marvels. The Archivans presented a self-replicating Dyson sphere fragment, drawing gasps of awe. The Lumari, a species of liquid-based sentience, showcased a molecular fusion system that could terraform planets in days. Every display seemed to eclipse the one before. Then came humanity's turn. Kara and Mac rolled their unassuming crate to the center of the hall. A ripple of laughter spread through the crowd. Even the Concord overseer, a being of pure energy encased in a shimmering lattice of glass, tilted slightly in amusement. Kara stepped forward and spoke clearly, her voice cutting through the condescension. "We call this the Singularity Engine," she began, gesturing to the crate. "It's not flashy, and it's not elegant, but what it does is revolutionary." The crate opened with a hiss. Inside was a compact machine no larger than a standard generator. It was built from ordinary materials, steel, copper, and ceramic plating. A dull glow emanated from its core. "You claim to terraform planets," Kara continued, locking eyes with the Lumari representative. "You manipulate gravity," she added, nodding at the Archivans. "But what we've built isn't about bending the universe to our will, it's about working with it." Murmurs of confusion spread. "What does it do?" a booming voice from the audience demanded. Kira smiled. "Let me show you." The activation. Mac flipped a series of switches, and the machine began to hum. The room vibrated slightly, and a faint beam of light shot upward, creating a holographic projection of a dying planet. Its atmosphere was stripped, its surface scorched. The crowd watched, unimpressed. Then the Singularity Engine activated fully. A low-frequency pulse reverberated through the chamber. The hologram planet began to transform. The machine wasn't adding materials or energy, it was rearranging what was already there. The scorched surface shifted as molecular bonds reformed, atmospheres thickened, water returned, and lush greenery spread across the projection in seconds. Gasps filled the room. The Singularity Engine had, in mere moments, restored the balance of an entire planetary ecosystem. The aftermath. "How is this possible?" demanded an Archivan engineer, stepping forward, their translucent brain flashing with agitation. Your device violates entropy laws. Kira smirked. No, it harmonizes with them. Instead of overpowering universal forces, we harness them. This machine doesn't conquer, it collaborates. It understands the fundamental language of existence and speaks it back. The crowd was stunned. Species that had dismissed humanity as primitive now murmured in astonishment. The overseer leaned forward, its lattice glowing brightly. This changes everything, it said, its voice like 1,000 chimes. And for the first time in galactic history, humanity's name would not be whispered with mediocrity, it would be spoken with awe. Whispers in the void. The applause following the demonstration of the Singularity Engine was thunderous, but not universal. Kira Masood stood tall, her arms crossed over her chest, watching the alien delegation's reactions closely. Some clapped hesitantly, their faces a mix of amazement and unease. Others whispered amongst themselves, exchanging furtive glances. Mac leaned in toward Kira, his deep voice low. We rattled their cages, boss. Now the real fun starts. Kira nodded, her eyes scanning the crowd. She had expected skepticism. What she hadn't anticipated was the intensity of the interest. The Archivan engineers were already clustered together, their crystalline fingers twitching as if computing probabilities. The Lumari delegates' gelatinous form rippled, their whispering taking on a frantic tone. From the shadows, Avraxian, a towering reptilian species known for its ruthless pragmatism, stared at the Singularity Engine with predatory intent. An unwanted invitation. Hours later, as the humans packed up their device, a sleek drone hovered into their quarters, its metal carapace glinting under the station's artificial light. A calm but firm voice emanated from it. Chief Engineer Masood, the Concord Overseer requests your presence. Alone. Kara exchanged a glance with Mac. He frowned but said nothing. She placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. I'll handle this. Stay with the engine. The drone led her through the station's labyrinthine halls to a chamber unlike any she had seen before. The Overseer's presence filled the room, its lattice of shimmering energy refracting light into dazzling patterns. Kira felt dwarfed but not intimidated. You have caused quite the disturbance, Chief Engineer, the Overseer said, its voice resonating like a symphony of bells. Your invention intrigues us. Kira maintained her composure. Isn't that the point of the exposition? Indeed, but understand this, your device has implications far beyond your species' understanding. You have created something that challenges the status quo. The Overseer paused, the room growing eerily silent, and that frightens some among us. A growing threat. Meanwhile, back in the human quarters, Mac's instincts buzzed like an alarm. He had noticed too many wandering eyes, too many veiled threats hidden in polite conversations. As the rest of the team slept, he stationed himself near the Singularity Engine, his trusty plasma cutter in hand. He didn't have to wait long. The door to their quarters hissed open. A shadowy figure stepped inside, their movements silent and deliberate. They were clad in stealth armor, their form barely visible in the dim light. Mac gripped the plasma cutter tightly. Wrong room, he growled. The intruder froze, then lunged forward. Mac moved like lightning, blocking the attack and slamming his massive fist into the assailant's chest. The figure crumpled to the floor, but before Mac could interrogate them, they triggered a cloaking device, vanishing in a flash of light. Mac activated the security alarms, his mind racing. Someone wanted their machine, and they weren't playing fair. Unveiling the conspiracy. By the time Kara returned, the team was on high alert. Mac briefed her quickly, showing her the security footage of the intruder. The blurry image revealed their armor bore the insignia of the Rakshan Coalition, a faction known for its aggressive tactics and disdain for humanity. Kara's jaw tightened. They're not just curious, they're threatened. If they can't understand it, they'll try to control it. The team quickly moved the Singularity Engine to a more secure location, but the tension only grew. Throughout the station, whispers of the human invention spread like wildfire. Delegates began taking sides. Some praised humanity's ingenuity, while others argued that the engine was a danger to the galaxy's balance of power. The Concord Overseer called an emergency council meeting, its voice echoing across the station. The implications of this invention must be discussed. Humanity's place in the Concord hangs in the balance. The council's verdict. In the Grand Council chamber, Kira stood alone at the center of a circular platform. Surrounding her were holographic projections of the Concord's most powerful members. The Archivans, the Lumari, the Vraxians, and countless others loomed over her, their gazes piercing. The Singularity Engine defies natural limits, an Archivan delegate said coldly. It destabilizes the balance of power. But it could save entire planets, argued a representative from the Hellion Union, a species that had long struggled with environmental collapse. Humanity has achieved what even we could not. The debate raged on, but Kira remained calm. When her turn to speak came, she stepped forward, her voice steady. This machine isn't a weapon. It's a tool, a chance for all of us to work together and repair the damage we've done to our galaxy. Humanity isn't here to dominate, we're here to contribute. But if you let fear dictate your actions, you'll lose more than just an invention. You'll lose progress. The room fell silent. The ambush. As the council deliberated, Kira's team received a warning from an unexpected source, a low-ranking Archivan engineer who had secretly admired humanity's boldness. They're coming for it, the engineer whispered. The Rakshan Coalition doesn't care about the council's decision. They've mobilized a strike team. Kira didn't hesitate. Mac, we're moving the engine, now. As they rushed through the station's corridors, alarms blared. Rakshan soldiers had breached the perimeter. Gunfire and explosions echoed through the halls as the humans fought to protect their creation. The race to escape. The corridors of Nione 7 had turned into a war zone. Sirens wailed, and the air smelled of burning circuitry and ozone. Kara and Mac led their team through a maze of hallways, pushing a reinforced hovercart carrying the Singularity Engine. Every few minutes, a deep rumble shook the station, the sound of explosions creeping closer. They're trying to box us in, Mac growled, glancing at the motion tracker on his wrist. Red blips closed in from all sides. We need a new route, now. Kira's mind raced as she pulled up a map of the station on her wristpad. The maintenance tunnels, they lead straight to the docking bay. What about the coalition forces? Asked Samir Patel, the team's comms specialist, his voice shaky but determined. They'll expect us to take the main corridors, Kira replied, already moving. If we're lucky, they won't think to check the tunnels. Luck? Mac muttered, cracking his knuckles. I'll take brute force any day. Into the shadows, the team pried open a maintenance hatch and descended into the dimly lit tunnels beneath the station. The sound of gunfire and shouting faded as they moved deeper into the maze of pipes and conduits. Kira took point, her flashlight slicing through the gloom. Keep quiet and stay close, she whispered. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the hum of the hovercart's anti-grav motors. Suddenly, a faint metallic clink echoed down the tunnel. Kira froze, raising a hand to halt the team. Trip mine, she said, pointing to a barely visible device affixed to the tunnel wall. They're already here. Mac stepped forward, his massive frame casting a shadow over the device. I've got this. With the precision of a surgeon, he disabled the mine, his hands steady despite the tension in the air. Let's move, he said, his voice a low rumble. They know we're here. The first ambush. As the team rounded a corner, the tunnel erupted in gunfire. Coalition operatives clad in sleek black armor appeared from hidden alcoves, their plasma rifles blazing. The humans dove for cover, the hovercart shielding the engine from the worst of the attack. Suppressing fire, Mac roared, unleashing a torrent of shots from his modified railgun. The tunnel filled with the deafening crack of projectiles breaking the sound barrier. Samir scrambled to deploy a portable shield generator, its blue energy field flickering to life just in time to block a grenade blast. Kara ducked behind a support beam, her pulse racing. She spotted a weak point in the attacker's formation, a narrow gap between two operatives. Mac, on my mark. He nodded, bracing himself. Now, Kira shouted. Mac charged forward like a battering ram, his railgun spewing destruction. The coalition soldiers faltered, and the humans seized the opening to push forward, leaving a trail of smoke and debris in their wake. The unexpected ally. As the team neared the docking bay, their path was blocked by a massive blast door. Kira cursed under her breath. We don't have time to hack this. Before she could formulate a plan, a hologram flickered to life nearby. It was the archive engineer who had warned them earlier. "You'll never get that door open in time," the archive said, their crystalline form shimmering, "but I can help." "Why?" Kira asked, her tone wary. The archive hesitated. "Because your invention is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. The galaxy doesn't deserve to lose it." Without waiting for a reply, the engineer interfaced with the station's systems. The blast door slid open, revealing the docking bay beyond. "Good luck," the archive said, their image flickering out. The final stand. The docking bay was chaos. Coalition soldiers swarmed the area, their black ships gleaming like predators waiting to strike. Kira's team sprinted toward their shuttle, the Singularity engine hovering behind them. "They're going to blow us to pieces before we even get off the ground," Samir shouted. Kira's eyes darted around the bay. She spotted an unused cargo loader, a massive mech-like machine with powerful arms and a built-in shield generator. An idea sparked in her mind. "Mac, get the engine on board. I'll cover you." "What? Are you insane?" Mac shouted, but Kira was already moving. She climbed into the cargo loader and powered it up. The machine roared to life, its metal limbs gleaming. Kira maneuvered it into position, raising the shield generator just as a wave of plasma fire rained down on them. "Go!" she yelled over the comms. Mac and the others pushed the hovercart up the shuttle's ramp. The ship's engines roared as it prepared for takeoff. Coalition forces surged forward, determined to stop them. Kira swung the loader's massive arms, scattering soldiers like toys, but the onslaught was relentless. Her shield flickered, and warning lights blared in the cockpit. "Kira, we're on board," Mac's voice crackled through her earpiece. "Get back here now." She hesitated for a split second, then pushed the loader's systems to their limit. With a final, defiant roar, she charged into the heart of the enemy formation, buying precious seconds for the shuttle to lift off. Escape to the unknown. The shuttle rocketed out of the docking bay, its engines screaming. Mac stared out the viewport, his fists clenched. "She'll make it," he muttered, as if willing it to be true. Behind them, the station erupted in chaos. Explosions rippled through its structure, the result of sabotage or desperation. Coalition ships broke formation, retreating as the humans disappeared into the void. Inside the shuttle, the team sat in stunned silence. The Singularity engine hummed softly, a testament to their victory, but the cost was heavy. A signal in the dark. Hours later, as the shuttle drifted through uncharted space, a faint transmission crackled through the comms. "This is Chief Engineer Kara Masood. I'm alive. Coordinates to follow." The team erupted in cheers. Mac leaned back in his seat, a rare grin breaking across his face. "Hell of a move, boss." But their journey was far from over. The galaxy now knew of humanity's brilliance and its potential threat. Alliances would be tested, enemies would multiply, and the Singularity engine would become the most sought-after object in the universe. As the stars stretched out before them, one thing was certain: humanity had just begun to write its legend. Into the maelstrom, Kira Masood sat in the cockpit of her stolen cargo shuttle, battered but alive. The makeshift controls in front of her flickered as she punched in coordinates for a rendezvous with her team. A horde of coalition ships lay scattered behind her, but her survival was anything but assured. The faint beacon of her team's shuttle was a pinprick in the vastness of space. "Kira Masood, your defiance is admirable," the voice crackled through her comms. It was General Tarrex of the Rakshan Coalition, his gravelly tone oozing contempt. "But you cannot escape the inevitable. Surrender now, and we may allow you to live." Kira rolled her eyes and toggled the comms to mute. "Not today, buddy," she muttered, fingers tightening around the controls. With a burst of acceleration, her shuttle banked hard, skimming the edge of a nearby asteroid field. Coalition fighters closed in, their plasma cannons lighting up the void. Kira grit her teeth, weaving through the jagged rocks with precision only desperation could fuel. The reunion. The team's shuttle hovered near a derelict station orbiting a dying red star. Inside, Mac paced like a caged animal, his broad shoulders brushing the cramped walls. When the proximity alarm blared, he rushed to the viewport. "It's her," he barked, relief flooding his voice. Kara's shuttle limped into the docking bay, sparks flying from its hull. As the hatch hissed open, Mac was the first to greet her, his gruff demeanor betraying a moment of pure joy. "Took your sweet time," he said, pulling her into a bear hug. "Yeah, well, I had to clear the dance floor," Kara replied, wincing as she gestured to her bruised side. With the Singularity engine secured and Kara back with the team, there was little time for celebration. The Coalition's pursuit would resume the moment they regrouped. The derelict station offered temporary shelter, but they needed a plan. The galaxy reacts. News of humanity's invention had spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, factions debated the Singularity engine's implications. The Hellion Union petitioned the Concord to grant humanity full membership, arguing that their invention could reverse centuries of environmental devastation. The Archivans, ever the perfectionists, proposed seizing the device for safekeeping. Meanwhile, the Rakshan Coalition declared humanity a rogue species, too dangerous to be allowed autonomy. As the humans lay low, the Concord held an emergency summit. The Overseer, a being of pure energy, addressed the gathered representatives. "Humanity has introduced a paradigm shift," it said, its voice resonating through the chamber. "Our choice is simple: embrace this change, or risk tearing ourselves apart." But even as the Overseer spoke, covert forces plotted to claim the Singularity engine for themselves. The decisive battle. The derelict station provided a temporary reprieve, but not safety. Kara's team worked tirelessly to enhance the shuttle's defenses, rigging up makeshift cloaking systems and boosting the engine's containment field. Mac took shifts patrolling the perimeter, his instincts honed from years of combat. Their respite ended when the Coalition arrived. Dozens of black, angular warships emerged from hyperspace, their engines glowing in ominous red. The station's aging systems were no match for the Coalition's firepower. Within minutes, their shields buckled, leaving Kara and her team exposed. "This is it," Mac growled, gripping his railgun. "They want a fight. We'll give them one." Kara's mind raced. They couldn't win a direct battle, but they didn't need to. "Samir," she said, turning to the comms specialist, "broadcast the engine's location to every faction in the Concord. If they want it, they'll have to come for it." Samir hesitated, then nodded. Within moments, the station's coordinates were transmitted across the galaxy. The arrival of the Concord. The Coalition's ships closed in, but before they could strike, the void erupted in light. Dozens of Concord vessels arrived, each more awe-inspiring than the last. The Archivans' crystalline ships glimmered like frozen starlight. The Helions' organic, coral-like vessels pulsated with bioluminescence. Even the enigmatic Lumari sent a delegation, their liquid ships flowing like living beings. The Coalition forces hesitated, realizing they were no longer the only players in the game. A tense standoff ensued. Every faction demanded control of the engine, their representatives shouting over one another in heated debate. Kira seized the moment, stepping onto the comms. "This machine wasn't built to be a weapon," she said, her voice firm but weary. "It's a tool for restoration, for balance, but if you can't set aside your greed and fear, then none of you deserve it." Her words echoed across the comm channels, silencing the bickering factions. For a moment, there was only silence. Humanity's gamble. The Overseer, its luminous form appearing above the chaotic scene, spoke. "Humanity has shown both great potential and great danger. The Singularity engine cannot remain in one species' hands." Kira nodded. "Then we'll destroy it." The declaration stunned everyone, including her own team. "What?" Mac hissed, but Kira held up a hand. "If this galaxy isn't ready for what the engine represents, then it's better to end it here than let it fuel a war," she said. Her fingers hovered over the device's failsafe, a self-destruct mechanism designed as a last resort. "No," the Hellion representative surged forward. "There must be another way." Kira hesitated, her hand trembling. "Then prove it," Show us that the Concord can rise above its divisions. A new alliance. In the end, the Concord agreed to a radical solution. The Singularity engine would be housed at a neutral site, accessible to all species for research and restoration efforts. Humanity would be granted Concord membership, not as equals but as innovators with potential to shape the future. As the factions dispersed, the human team watched the engine being transported to its new home. Kara felt a pang of loss but also relief. They had safeguarded their creation, but more importantly, they had safeguarded humanity's future. Epilogue: Humanity's Legacy. Months later, Kara and her team stood on the observation deck of the Concord's Grand Assembly Station. The stars stretched out before them, vast and unyielding. "We could have kept it," Max said quietly. "Used it to put humanity on top." Kara shook her head. "That's not who we are. If we want to survive out here, we need allies, not enemies." The Singularity engine became a symbol of hope, a testament to what humanity could achieve. Though they were newcomers to the galactic stage, they had left an indelible mark. And in the depths of space, as the stars whispered of the bold and resilient humans, one truth rang clear: humanity was far from mediocre. It was extraordinary.